In 1900, Robert Frost and his family moved from the Massachusetts industrial town of Lawrence to a farm near Derry, New Hampshire. For $1,800, William Prescott Frost, Robert's paternal grandfather, purchased the 30-acre place with its orchard, fields, woodland, and spring. The catch came later in William Frost's will. Robert would own the farm if he worked it for 10 years.
In 1952, he wrote a friend, "I might say the core of all my writing was probably the 5 free years I had there on the farm down the road from Derry Village toward Lawrence. The only thing we had plenty of was time and seclusion. I couldn't have figured in advance. I hadn't that kind of foresight, but it turned out right as a doctor's prescription."
A time of peace and artistic growth, the Derry years also saw their share of pain and strife. Already frail, Eleanor was pregnant 5 times in 6 years. After the death of her son Elliot, she withdrew into the first of many despondent silences. Robert's own bouts of illness and his lack of success as a poet, or even as a chicken farmer, made him moody and prone to rages. In 1906, Frost's fortunes turned. Helped by a local minister who admired his poems, he became a teacher at Pinkerton Academy, a high school in Derry. Though he grumbled about his work, Frost was a successful and popular teacher whose unusual methods gained statewide recognition. Despite academic obligations and personal trials, Frost managed to write or frame much of his finest verse during the Derry years. Working mostly at night, after the family had gone to sleep, he wrote enough to fill his first and third volumes with Derry poems. Poems from the Derry years would appear in Frost's books for the rest of his life, and poems inspired by life on the farm were among Frost's most famous. Eleanor always remembered Derry as the scene of her happiest times. Late in her life, she asked that her ashes be scattered at the farm. In 1911, at the end of the decade required by his grandfather, Frost sold the farm. With the money from the sale and a small trust fund, he quit his promising teaching career to concentrate on poetry. In the summer of 1912, the family sailed for London, where, as Eleanor wrote a friend, they would be all alone, without a single friend, in the biggest city in the world.